So how do we go from a TV to a full-fledged home theater like I've got here? Join me as we take all the twists and turns that got me to this Dolby Atmos home theater you see in front of you. Let's go. I know it can be a daunting task to figure out how to upgrade the sound of your TV. After all, if this is where you're starting from, it's a mess out there. It's so much information and a lot of it might go over your head. So this video is intended for you to understand how you upgrade from just the TV into a Dolby Atmos setup like I have here. Now, if you're starting from just the TV, there are two routes you can go down. You can definitely go down the soundbar route, or you can do what I suggest, which is getting an AV receiver and two speakers. Now, these speakers can be bookshelf speakers, it could be tower speakers.
You don't need to have an $8,000 pair of speakers for it to sound good. You need to have proper calibration.
Now, if you wanted to just get sound, we can start with an AV receiver and two little bookshelves like this. Is it going to be the greatest? Not really, because you don't have that low-end punch that you want from a home theater. But again, we'll get to that, because half of the fun in this thing is getting all the pieces and collecting them over time to finally having something amazing. So right now, we're using the TV as the source, and we're going to HDMI ARC, that's audio return channel, to the receiver, and then you plug in speaker cable from the speaker to the back of the AVR, and you're done. You've got sound. There's more setup involved, and then there's placement. We're not going to get into all of that today. We're just going to show you how to find the upgrade path that's right for you. So if we're going the route of the satellite speakers or bookshelf speakers, you're probably going to need a subwoofer. And yes, I'm still in my gym clothes. This is a 12-inch ELAC subwoofer. This one is a little bit more pricey. SVS has some great options when it comes to subwoofers at budget or lower level pricing. So make sure you go check them out. I'll leave links in the description. But with this 12-inch woofer and the 5.25-inch mid-range drivers in the satellites, this is a pretty rockin' system for listening to music and watching TV. Movies, yeah, we're getting there, but I've had to restart my home theater a few times, and it's all about the journey and finding the right components and building it up over time. Now we've got the two satellite speakers, we've got the subwoofer, and we've got the AVR, and we've got the TV. So right now is a good time to talk about sources. What is a source? Well, right now, we're talking about the TV being the source for the audio. Now, when people talk about getting better quality out of their movie watching, we have sources such as these, which will give a better experience than streaming. Now, this is physical media. This is a Blu-ray player, which happens to have the spatial audio calibration toolkit in there. And underneath it is a media server that has a hard drive, and I've got a bunch of movies on here that I've ripped. So these would now be the two sources that connect to the AV receiver. Then you've got a video cable that goes from the AV receiver to the TV. And then you've got the cables from the AV receiver to your speakers. And then the one cable from the AV receiver to the subwoofer that's over in the corner. Now, if physical media isn't your thing, well, we've got devices like the Roku Ultra, the NVIDIA Shield TV Pro. Remember, you got to get the TV Pro. The Apple TV 4K, and the Fire Stick 4K. There's a few more. I'm sure you guys know which ones you like and which ones you use. I'll tell you this, if you're trying to get the best sound quality and video performance, I would recommend going with either the Shield TV Pro or the Apple TV 4K. So the best way to wrap your head around this is the TV is no longer the source. We're either going to have the streaming boxes as our sources, or we're going to have the physical media like Blu-ray discs, or if you have a record player or a CD player or tape, if you got it still, those are sources. And now the TV is just going to be a display. So you connect all the sources to the AV receiver, and then the AV receiver connects with one cable to the TV, as the TV is now just for display purposes. And since we're talking about sources, we're going to need something like this. This is an ELAC power conditioner. Something like this does the job. Now, there's a lot of people that say like, oh, it'll protect your equipment from a lightning strike. But let's be real. If lightning's hitting your house, this thing's not going to protect all your equipment. Let's just be real. And then the other thing that people say is that when you use a power conditioner, the music's going to sound better. The picture's going to look better. I don't believe any of that. That's hogwash to me. Don't spend a whole lot of money on that. I know you can get up into the 5,000–6,000s with that thing. Like, I wouldn't go more than $400. Okay, so next up is probably one of the most important speakers in your home theater, and this is the center channel speaker. So we've got the left speaker here, we've got the center channel speaker here, and we've got the right speaker here. This is known as the LCR, also known as the front stage, the most important part of your home theater. A couple things you want to keep in mind. It is always best to match your speakers, your left and right speakers, with your center speakers. There's a thing called timbre, right? And so if you had a different speaker here and a different speaker here, when something in a movie pans over, you're going to hear a shift in tonality, and that's going to maybe take you out of the immersion, maybe not. It all depends on, how well you hear things and slight changes in sound. I have definitely had 2 different speakers and a different center channel and heard the difference. And then sometimes, like, I just don't really care. Sometimes when you have it tuned in, you don't really notice that shift. Safest thing to do is go with the same brand, go to the same series if you can. Obviously, these are not the same series, but they're made with similar materials, so that helps. So why is the center channel speaker so important? Well, before, we were getting all of our sound from 2 speakers. So everything was going there. Everything on the left was on the left. Everything was on the right is on the right. When we add the center channel, we're getting all the dialogue coming through this speaker. So I know what you're going to say now. You're going to say, well, that center channel is awfully big compared to those satellite speakers. Yeah. So this is what I normally do. If I have satellites in the front left and right speaker, I usually get the center channel next. And then when I'm ready, I get the towers. Upgrade the front speakers and move the smaller speakers to the rear. So now we've got the center channel and we've got 2 tower speakers. These are the per listen R5T tower speakers. And yes, I told you not to mix and match the center channel with other speakers, but sometimes you just got to do what you got to do and you work with what you got. I did mention Dolby Atmos when we started this video, so that would be the next thing. This little speaker up here, this is called a height channel speaker. Now, Dolby Atmos speakers can be in-ceiling speakers. They can be these like reflective, bouncy speakers where you put it on top of your front speaker and it bounces the sound to your ceiling and then to where you're listening. But, in this kind of a room where we've got vaulted ceilings, that's just not going to work as well. They would tell you, and that physically it's not going to work. Everybody's room is going to be different, and it's just a matter of what's going to be best suited for your space. So now we got a 5.1.4 Dolby Atmos home theater. That's great. And we've got sources, whether they're physical or streaming boxes, and the TV, of course, is just the display. There are different levels of AV receiver, and the current one that I was using was this Onkyo RZ30, which is around $1,100. You can probably find it on sale. It could go under $1,000, and it's been a decent performer. These new speakers will require a lot more power, and they're also 4 ohm. And I made a video about speaker ohmage and how to match that with a proper AV receiver or amplifier. So make sure you check out that video as well if you don't know what I'm talking about. So the next step would probably be to match the center channel, okay? Because I have 2 per listen towers and then a monolith center channel. So it's kind of like not cohesive. So I could do that, or I could get an AV receiver that's pumping out more power. So luckily I have one hanging out, and that is the Denon X6700H, and that's what we're gonna put in now. Okay, so now we've got the Denon AVR X6700H. So not only did I get the AVR, let's say a couple months later, I added some new sources, Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5. So I'm doing pretty well with my Dolby Atmos home theater, right? I've got the 9 speakers, I've got a bunch of new sources, I've got a new AV receiver. So one of the things that we need to definitely change up is the center channel. And that's why we've now got the Perlisten R5C to match up with the Perlisten R5T tower speakers. So now our front stage is cohesive. It is all mated up with their signature tweeter mid-range design. Now, at this point in this room, it's a pretty large room. If I wanted to do something, I would go one of two directions from here. Now, I could get an extra subwoofer. That would be more bang for the buck. However, I don't think I really need another subwoofer here. I could definitely put one in here. That's not the problem. I don't think I need it, but I do know that these Perlisten speakers, which are not cheap, you don't need to go that expensive. That's just what's here. They're actually just here for me to review. So a subwoofer, I don't think is the right move. I think what I want to do is I want to guarantee a lot of power for this front stage. And the only way to do that is with, you guessed it, external amplification. Here they are, ladies and gentlemen, 3 monoblock amplifiers by Outlaw. This is the model 2220 or 2220. These things are single channel amplifiers, so monoblock. So 1 channel, 2 channel, 3 channel, right? So this is the left, this is the center, and this is the right. That's the front stage. We have to connect this guy to these guys. And now that we've got some good power and some good quality speakers, we've got some fancy speaker cable by Kimber Cable. These are the 12TC. I love these things. Through these fancy cables to the fancy speakers. Of course, you don't need to go this fancy. This is 1000% overkill for this space and for this room. But you know how Techno Dad likes to do it. We got to do it a little bit hot in here just because I have the air conditioner on. It's hot in here. Gosh.
Now, having all of this gear is fantastic, but if you aren't calibrating the gear, you're not going to be getting that extra 30% out of what you already have. And whichever budget that is, if that's a lower end budget, a mid-range budget, or a high-end budget, you still need to calibrate it. And that's where the Spatial Audio Calibration Toolkit comes in. At $100, it is a fantastic buy, but it's on sale now for Memorial Day at 20% off. Link is in the description. Listen to what others have said. I've been looking for a Dolby Atmos disc for a while now and finally came across this one. What an amazing job. This tool showed me that the level test tones in my AVR were not accurate. Was able to use this to balance everything, and now Atmos placement is perfect. Buy the Spatial Audio Calibration Toolkit and Magic Bean's True Target and save yourself thousands, because I'm proof of both. That they both transform my somewhat budgeted home theater to a great sounding home theater. You don't need to have an $8,000 pair of speakers for it to sound good. You need to have proper calibration. If you've been waiting to pick up one or both of these products, now's the time. Is somebody knocking at my door?
What does this thing say? Well, everybody, look what just showed up. 9-channel AV receiver by Primaire. It's a Scandinavian company. Let's check out the booty because this is how we actually know what's going on. We got 9 outputs. Looks like for pre-outs, we've got left, right, and center, and subwoofer 2. So power my front stage externally. There's a trigger output here. That's the only 4 HDMI inputs. That's going to be tough considering I need like at least 6, but I'll figure that part out. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it looks like I'll be spending my holiday weekend calibrating. Since I just added the power amplifiers yesterday, I hadn't got a chance to calibrate the Denon yet, and the Primaire just arrived. That thing's running Dirac Live, so I got my trusty U-Mic 1 here. I've got Spatial Audio Calibration Toolkit already running up on the system. I've got Magic Beans fired up on the computer. It is time to calibrate. If you have any questions about any of this, let me know down in the comments below, and all the product links are going to be in the description. I had a whole lot of fun making this video and thinking about it to bring you guys the most amount of value. So if you're starting out with the TV and trying to get to a home theater, I hope this video helped. As always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with anyone you think could get some value out of it. And we'll see you in the next one. Peace.